before we jump into the questions, there's two different things I want to do.
Okay.
Out of the norm. First is wanted to present this to you.
Oh my goodness.
So we got this right here, plaque for Shane and Lauren Ninan.
Oh my goodness.
100 millionaires. So we didn't figure out the mic logistics. So I'm just gonna have to shake your hand from over here. We'll take some better pictures later on.
Okay. Well, let's see. Hold on. Awesome. Thank you so much.
But congratulations, right? Number 4 out of 100.
Oh my goodness.
So
now I'm gonna have uncles and cousins and stuff calling out of the woodworks.
It's tied up in the houses. He can't give you any money.
Yeah, no. Yeah. A good buddy of mine, like Jennings Smith and Jaden Smith from Charleston, South Carolina, we have a joke with, what is high net worth and $5? What can you buy? A coffee, right?
Yeah.
That's all you can get.
Yeah, net worth doesn't do much for you besides, you're more financeable, and that's you can liquidate if you ever need access to capital. So other thing I want to do, because we've never done this before.
Okay.
But you were kind of mentioning that you've been at this for 4 years and you kind of struggle on the turning this into a business.
Sure.
So I like to just spend maybe 10, 15 minutes just kind of talking about what the struggle is.
Okay.
And then hopefully, the people that are listening get some value out of it.
Sure,
Right?
absolutely.
Like I said, I've never done this before normally, charge quite a bit of money for that kind of stuff. So let's talk about
Steve Trang's hot seat. Here we go.
Yeah, so let's talk about like what's going on, where the struggles are. Like what would you say is the biggest pain point as far as turning it into a business? And by the way, I hope you're okay. I'm going to say some really hard things.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. No, here we go.
Yeah.
All right. The old cliche, you don't know what you don't know, right? I've heard, and I've been in rooms where guys say, if you don't know your KPIs and you don't know your numbers, you don't have a business.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny, I was having lunch with a mutual friend of ours, Willie Coleman, a few months ago.
Yeah.
And we were both kind of, crying on each other's shoulders about the lack of KPIs.
Man, Willie, you've been to my workshop. What the heck? Anyway.
Yeah, he's making too much money. So, and he and I at that point in time, we're like, we know how much money we're spending every month.
Yes.
And we know how much money's coming in. And we know what the net is.
Mm-hmm.
As long as that net's good, we're good.
Right.
And I think a lot of it, and I don't want to make excuses, but a lot of it is based on like your background, where you were raised. And in South Carolina, we're very relaxed. Things are much slower.
Mm-hmm.
Living expenses are very low, right? If a guy's netting $200,000, $250,000 a year, he can live like a king. Right?
Yeah.
He can drive whatever car he wants to drive. He can live where he wants. So
in most cities.
In most cities, yeah.
Yes.
So if you're doing volume, Willie's doing big volume, we're doing decent volume.
Mm-hmm.
For us to like get granular with it, like what is my cost per lead? I should be embarrassed to sit here and say that I don't know.
Yeah.
But whatever we're doing, I know it's working, right?
Yeah. So here's what I'll answer to that.
Okay.
Right. Would you agree, or do you feel like today is harder to wholesale than it was a year ago?
No.
You don't think it's harder?
No.
Okay. So you're the exception.
Okay.
Right. So all across the board, across the country, it's getting harder.
Okay.
In the fact that there's just more competition, right?
Sure.
People are learning from YouTube View,
yeah,
we're part of that.
Yeah.
Right. There's free video, Instagram, whatever.
Sure.
And this courses are really cheap. You can buy a reasonable course for like $1,000.
Sure.
And so I think that there's a lot of information out there. And 10 years ago, if you got a hold of a motivated seller, if you knew who was motivated and you had their address and you can get their phone number, man, you're killing it.
Yeah.
Right? Like you had almost no competition, right?
Sure.
Like people that had IDI were not telling everyone else they had IDI, right?
Sure.
That was 10 years ago. Today, everyone knows who's motivated.
True.
And everyone has their phone number.
True.
And everyone has a dialer and a VA on that dialer.
True. I'd agree.
Right? So it's just harder, right, today. And so the reason why the KPIs are important, it's not for today, I would argue, right? It's that when the business changes,
you need to be able to pivot or change with
it. Well,
it.
you'll know sooner.
Sure.
Right? So like one of the things I do personally in managing my businesses is I want to know KPIs at a high level, but one of the more important KPIs to me is what was our profit and loss last month?
Sure.
Right? What were all our expenses? What was our profit last month? And because I have that, I can now project. So P&L is a 30-day late, right? Like you learn that, you know what your business looked like 30 days ago.
Sure.
You don't know what it looks like today. You just know what it looks like 30 days ago. The pipeline kind of gives you an idea what the revenue is going to look like in the next 30 days. But now with the P&L and being able to project, look at revenue, knowing what expenses are typically, I know how much cash I have today, and I know how much cash I'm going to have in 30 days.
Sure.
And that gives me the kind of crazy confidence to pull the trigger on something that someone else who's not as clear can make their decisions. And look, I'm not sitting here to tell you guys I've got it all figured out.
Yeah.
Right? It's just, I know like the first 9-10 years of my career, I kept thinking, I'm making a lot of freaking money, and where the heck is it?
Yes.
Right? You might have had those similar thoughts.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? And so that's why I think the KPIs are important. Not so much that, we talk about cost per lead, cost per deal, cost per contract. Like these things are important, but they're not going to crush your business.
Sure.
Right? Lack of transactions is going to kill your business,
absolutely.
Right? Or overspending is going to kill your business.
Sure.
But those are things that's the reason why I think it's important, is that when the winds change, you'll know sooner than the guy that doesn't know his KPIs.
Sure. What would you say would be somebody like myself, what would be the top, say, 3 or 4 KPIs that I should go home tomorrow and figure out and then monitor those 4?
I think for us, the single most important KPI to us as a wholesaling company is actual first appointments. And people don't really track that.
Actuals versus appointments.
Actual first appointment.
Okay.
So most people track appointments.
Okay.
Right? Which is important.
Sure.
But what happens with salespeople, if I say, Shane, I need you to go on 4 appointments, you might go to meet this one seller 3 times. And you count that as 3 appointments.
Okay.
Right? I mean, just talking about salespeople in general, right? Yeah. So we count only the actual first appointment, the first legitimate at bat.
Okay.
As a second appointment, a follow-up appointment, that doesn't count, right? That's just expected. That's just the bare minimum.
Sure.
We want to know how many actual first appointments. We don't track offers. My personal philosophy is I think offers are an overrated statistic, right? I think actual first appointments, actual legitimate opportunities for us to buy someone's house.
Okay.
So that is the single most important metric to us, was AFAs. And then before that, qualified leads.
Okay.
And before that, leads. So leads, qualified leads, actual first appointments, contracts. Those are, I would say,
My wife is in here. Honey, did you write that down? Okay.
It'll be on the replay.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
No, good stuff.
Yeah.